Let's move to the stories now. Power giant Adani has acquired Carmichael Mines in Australia's Galilee Basin, which has estimated coal reserves of up to 10 billion tons. Adani will begin the mining process in Galilee Basin in 2015 and expect to reach a peak level of 60 million tons by 2022. It said that it will pooling resources for this project through a debt-equity ratio of 70-30 and will also issue global bonds worth $1.5 billion.
If one were to vision India 2020, then one would obviously think of India as a country which is self-reliant in power generation. This is because power is the only sector that can drive the aspirations of modern India and can boost the development process in the country. India currently uses thermal power, hydropower, wind power and a small amount of biomass and nuclear energy to fulfill its energy needs. Thermal power constitutes 66%, hydroelectricity 19% and the rest 15% constitutes the remaining sector. It is estimated that the power demand in the country will rise to 275 gigawatts in 2017 from the current 208 gigawatts currently. Since thermal power constitutes a major chunk in the power generation of the country, large quantities of coal is required to adhere to the needs of the thermal plants. However, big coal producers in the country are facing shortages of coal as Coal India, the country's largest supplier of coal to these companies, has said that it will only be able to supply 80% of the promised coal as against the fuel supply agreement it signed with power generation companies. This means that companies will have to make arrangements for the remaining 20%. Amidst all these concerns, Adani Power, a subsidiary of Adani Enterprise, which has a current capacity of 5,320 megawatts, is expecting to increase its power generation capacity to 10,000 megawatts by next year and further expand to 20,000 megawatts by 2020. This is because the group has successfully completed the single largest and most comprehensive coal mining exploration program undertaken by it in Australia. Adani, which got mining rights in the Carmichael Mines in Australia's Galilee Basin, estimates the coal reserves at 10 billion tons. The company also completed the most comprehensive geotechnical field investigation to define the coal resource at Carmichael, which at 10 billion tons makes this the largest single coal exploration tenement in the world. The huge mining exploration program that employed more than 200 people, both on and off site, has established reserves of up to 10 billion tons of Joint Ore Reserve Committee's standard coal resource, including 3.4 billion tons in indicated and measured category in the Galilee Basin tenement.
It's not just Carmichael project will benefit to us only because we are working with a larger cause, and that is the nation building and how to secure nation more on the energy front.
Adani Group chairman and founder Mr. Gautam Adani said that the mining program is scheduled to start in 2015 and is expected to reach its peak level of 60 million tons by 2022. Having said this, the group has already invested $3 billion in cash in its integrated Australian projects and expects to invest $7 billion more over the next few years. The group is operating Abbott Point Coal Terminal in Queensland, which it had acquired in 2011, and is planning to increase its annual capacity to 120 million tons per year from current 50 million tons. The coal from the Carmichael mine will be transported via the 400-kilometer railway line to Abbott Point for exports to its power plants in India. The group has already placed 25 drill ships in Australia's Queensland for the mining activities. Adani is expecting to pool resources for this ambitious project through debt-equity ratio of 70:30. To make up for the supply of coal from the hinterland in Queensland to Abbott Point, the group has proposed a 400-kilometer long railway line connecting the Carmichael mines and Abbott Point. The company will also issue global bonds worth $1.5 billion to fund its railway, ports and coal projects in Australia. The company is currently fulfilling its power generation needs from Indonesia's Bunyuh mines and Coal India. Gautam also said that power is one of the ingredients of country's GDP growth.
Whatever countries basically demand of the country to make this GDP continue to grow, the power is the main ingredients to basically propel the growth. And to make this, we realized 3-4 years back that country required, and the deficit on the power sector in the coal sector will be continue to be very high. On the other side, gas price is very high. LNG price our power sector cannot afford the LNG price, LNG based fuel price, and coal will going to be the dominant player in power generations. And because of that, basically we moved overseas and to start with Indonesia, and then further we moved to Australia.
As part of the Aussie Fest in India, Australian Minister of Resource and Energy Mr. Martin Ferguson and Queensland Premier Campbell Newman visited the Adani ports and special economic zones in Gujarat. While addressing a joint press conference, Queensland Premier Newman said that India's industries have opened up the opportunities of trade between the two nations. 2 months back, visiting Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard signed the Civil Nuclear Cooperation Movement with Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, promising to supply uranium to India to fulfill its power needs. However, as of now, the Adani Group has no plans to expand its horizons and enter in the nuclear sector, said Pranav Adani, Managing Director of Oil and Gas in the company.
If you also look at the India's 5-year plan, which has got a projected growth of about 8%. That is premised on a growth in demand for energy. Hence, to actually invest in thermal coal is very much in accord with India's 5-year plan, but it's also very much in accord with the International Energy Agency's World Energy Forecast.
My government, the Queensland government, welcomes wholeheartedly the investment in the Carmichael project, $4.5 billion to produce 60 million tonnes a year of coal in the Galilee Basin in Queensland. My government is totally committed to getting behind the Adani Group to make this a reality.
Mr. Gautam Adani also spoke about his company's ambitions and the problems surrounding the Indian power industry in the near future. He further added that private sector will contribute significantly to the power generation in the 12th 5-year plan.
More than 40% of the plant capacity has been added by the private sectors, and that basically issue will going to continue for the 12th plan, which was earlier in 10th plan. Basically, early the 10% was added by the private sector. So private sector participation in the power sector definitely is going to be very significant.
It was a worry for Adani Power Limited after Coal India Limited said that it could only supply 80% of coal as per the fuel supply agreement that it had signed with power companies. However, Adani Power can now have a sigh of relief after it has completed successful mining in the Carmichael Basin of Australia. The Carmichael Mine in Australia's Galilee Basin will now be supplying coal to Adani Power for its power generation capacity. With camera person Sandeep Sharma in Gujarat, this is Sumit Roy for DD News, Mumbai.
Well, to mark the day when missile boats of Indian Navy carried out a deadly attack on